Disclaimer: some topics related to forensics and death are discussed in this episode. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Do you think people here love their animals and their pets more than they love humans?
Oh man, I'm gonna be so honest.
Whatever you want to say, it's okay. I'm not trying to back you into a corner over here. So
potentially, and
Right.
I can say that because sometimes, I'm like I said, my dogs are my children. Like,
Right.
and I know that sounds ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
if I were to now, okay, let's say like if it were like my mom or my dogs,
Right.
that's a little different.
Those
but
are
like,
different things, yeah.
like I will beat somebody up for my dogs. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it just depends.
Hey Shelby, how's it going?
I'm good.
Good. Have you had something to eat yet?
I have, yes.
Good. That's good. So before we get started, if you want to let the people know who you are, what you do, any likes and dislikes in life, those can be as mundane as, oh, I like doing laundry, or you hate doing
I
laundry.
hate doing laundry.
Fair enough, I don't blame you.
It's my least favorite house chore, I think.
What's your favorite house chore?
Oh.
Is there a favorite house chore?
No, but if I had to pick one, I know it's not popular. I don't mind the dishes.
I don't mind the dishes either, actually.
I don't mind them.
Yeah.
That or vacuuming.
Hmm.
Vacuuming is kind of satisfying.
Really?
Yeah.
What about it is satisfying?
Well, like, if you have carpet, you can see the
okay,
the vacuum marks in the rug.
I see,
yeah. Like
yeah, because it sucks up all the mess that's there. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but like they all kind of suck. So.
Gotcha. But if you had to rank
if I had
them,
to pick, I would pick those two probably.
Got it. That's fair. What about laundry do you not like?
I hate it because you put it in, right? You have to wait for it to be done.
Yeah.
And then you have to move it to the dryer, and then you have to wait for that to be done. And then if you're starting multiple loads, sometimes they're not
in sync with each other.
And that bothers me because I would love to. I am not one of those people. My mother would kill me if I just threw everything in the washer all at once and then threw it all in the dryer. She would have me by my neck because no way. So like I do separate my stuff.
Right.
And so I'm like, I just want it all to be done at the same time. And then I hate folding it. I hate putting it away. It's the bane of my existence.
It's just too quick.
It's just a lot.
Right.
It's just a lot. And then it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm done. And then by the time you like are like satisfied with yourself that you're done, it's full again.
Right. It's like the pile never ends.
Yeah.
So gotcha. Any future aspirations or interests in life?
Yeah, we kind of got focused on the laundry there.
No, it's all good.
That's my bad.
It's all good.
Future aspirations. I want to do DNA analysis for some agency. Somebody hire me, please. I want to work so bad.
Right.
But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Eventually, I think I want to work in like a private lab. I think that would be fun. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. And then when I'm old, I kind of want to like teach like at a university somewhere.
Gotcha.
Be like one of those old professors. That's just really cool. Doesn't make you do a lot of homework.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I don't feel like... Well, do you have a lot of homework in your classes?
Not now, but like undergrad, yeah.
Undergrad, yeah, for sure. For those of you wondering, both of us are classmates, taken a lot of courses together and stuff. Started in the same cohort. And I guess both of us are going to be here for a little longer because we're finishing up on research. Gotta love that.
I know everybody else is like graduating. I kind of didn't have that epiphany until the other day when they were talking about, we have like a cohort group chat.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, oh, I need more graduation tickets. And I'm like, y'all are actually leaving. That's sad. Like, there's not going to be that many of us left. And even though we are going to be here still, we're not going to be in the same classes anymore. That's weird.
Right. Because I think it was when Jordan and I were going to class. Jordan is one of our other classmates.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi, Jordan. If you're watching this, which you probably might. I think we were doing the math of how many people are graduating and how many are not. I think like it's like a
Like
half
and
and half.
half.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 or 7 of them graduating and the
Yeah.
rest of them not. So yeah, no, it's part of me feels like there've been times where it feels like it's just a drag.
Yeah, and then
But-
the other part, it's like that.
Yeah, it's like 2 years already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow, like
I know. Like overall,
Yeah.
it feels like it's flown,
right.
but like there have been some classes where I'm like, I have been in this for 57 years. Like just
right.
like individual classes.
Yeah.
But like overall, it's absolutely flown.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. What do you like doing in everyday life?
In everyday life, I am a proud dog mother of 2 ginormous fur babies.
Okay.
They take up most of my time, if I'm
Gotcha.
being honest.
Mm.
And I don't mind it because, yeah, I just love them. I love them so much. I love weightlifting. That's one of my favorite things. I love true crime. I love reading. You know, all the basics.
Gotcha. What about, well, I guess I'll go a little further. What got you interested into doing DNA analysis or choosing that as a career?
Yeah. I originally wanted to go to med school, like all of undergrad. That was like my plan. Did pre-med. I was bio pre-med. About halfway in, I added like a criminalistics like minor. Loved it. I've always loved like true crime. Like I found podcasts because of. Did you ever listen to Serial?
No, I don't think I have.
You should.
Okay.
It's like I feel like in true crime podcast world, that's like the first podcast.
Interesting.
It's like
okay. First as in the oldest or like the best? Or both?
I don't know that it's necessarily the oldest necessarily, but
Gotcha.
like it's like the one that like was like, oh, this is a thing. Like this is absolutely a thing. And then I feel like it kind of took off from there. Now there's so many of them.
Right.
And I don't even know, she may update Serial, but like I don't even know if I think it was 2 seasons maybe. And then I think that was kind of it. But yeah, like the first season was like, this is true crime podcasting.
Right.
And it kind of became like a thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is cool. Like, this is so cool.
Right.
Yeah. And then I got to the end of undergrad and I was like, I did all my like patient care hours and shadowing. And I was like, it's going to sound weird. I was like, this is really depressing. Like, and that's weird to say with the field that we're in.
Yeah, because
kind of
this
odd.
has its
but I will say it was because like during like part of my patient care hours, I was like, they call them like sitters. I was like working at OU Med, and I was like basically just in like rooms, like making sure that they didn't fall.
Right.
I was in there for 12 hours a day. Like I could only leave like if somebody came and like swapped me out. So like I got a 30-minute lunch, maybe. So I was in this room, and some of those people were in just like awful situations. There was like one guy in particular, I'm not going to go into it because obviously HIPAA. But like, I remember leaving that day and I was like, I never want to see anything like that again. Like, he was just such a genuinely like good dude, like just talking to him, and he was just in an awful situation. It was right before the holidays and he didn't have anybody there. I was like, rip my heart out.
Oh, he was by himself?
Yes, he was completely by himself. Like, it was just me and him in this room. Like, oh, it was so sad. I was like, I'm good. Like, I'd never want to do that again. Also, like, I don't know, lab work has always been more of my thing. Like, rather than like patient care, I'm not the best with people. So, yeah, I kind of always wanted to go that route anyway. And then I started doing forensic entomology research during undergrad. And I was like, yeah, this is sick. Like, so I just kept going with that professor. And oddly enough, it's one of the craziest things. When I got to UCO, I was taking, is it crime scene processing? There's crime scene processing and advanced crime scene processing. I was taking the first one.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it was like a prereq to like get in.
To get advanced, right.
And it was me, Beth, Haley, and Natalie in that class. And I was talking to Beth one day, and she started talking about like forensic entomology, and I was like, I knew she went to OU. I didn't know her very well at that point. And she started talking about her professor, and I was like, oh my God, we did research with the same professor. So it was kind of crazy. So we have like that kind of connection, which is kind of weird, but
Right.
yeah, that was cool.
Cool.
'Cause
What is
she's now like
entomology?
one of my best friends, but
Right. I was going to say, what is entomology for those of us who might not know?
entomology, how would you define it in simple terms? The use of insects, bugs, if you will. In forensics, it would be like usually to determine like time of death,
Right.
essentially, like PMI, postmortem interval, for my friends that don't know. That's kind of what I focused on anyway.
Right. Because I mean, not to make this gross, but I guess it's kind of going to sound gross.
Just put like a trigger warning.
Yeah, I guess maybe that should do that.
Be like,
start of the episode.
skip ahead to this point if you don't want to hear about dead bodies and bugs.
Right. But yeah, I guess like it's the connection between dead bodies and bugs that sort of is the, I guess, essentially the core of entomology. Right. And so that sort of got you into wanting to take this as a career path. I did have a question that was going to pop up, which is kind of weird, but I think you answered that. I'll ask it anyway and sort of explore if there is any room to explore. You mentioned that you did not want to, while it was weird to say that you did not want to be in that setting because this setting is also very weird in its own way. Is it just the fact that we don't deal with people? We do, but we deal with them when they're dead.
Kind of. I used to be really squeamish as well, and so I was like not into the whole like blood and da da da. And again, that sounds weird because now I really don't have any problems with it. I think it's probably just like a little desensitized from it, which I guess is a little sad, but you know, it is what it is. I don't know. I think part of it was like the people thing. Part of it was the lab thing. Another part of it is just it like itches a part of my brain that needs to critical think. Like it's just a different type of critical thinking, I think.
Sure.
That really just like makes me excited. It was like different than like any of the med stuff that I did. Because like med stuff, I just felt like I was like going through the motions, like just trying to get in and trying to do something. This, I'm like, I can think through this. I'm like, I have so many ideas. Like, you know, like it
you
just...
get to apply the stuff that you know in some sense.
Yeah.
I can kind of relate to that in the sense that I worked as a lab tech for a clinic for about 10 months. And once you understood what to do, that's all you did. For the most part. You know, sure, you would have days when the machine went down and you had to figure something out, or you had a bad sample and you had to figure something out. But I feel like there is a sort of ceiling with that. Maybe there isn't, and because I've not been in that field for that long, but from the bits that I saw, like I do feel like there's a ceiling that you hit eventually. Whereas with this, I guess there's unique cases, for lack of a better word.
Because it's always changing.
Yeah.
I just love that people are like, well, you wouldn't think that this would happen. And I'm like, but it can. Like, and if it does, and you're wrong, like, that's not going to be good. Right. So, like, don't take all our options off the table, you know? Like, I just love laying out. I love playing, like, devil's advocate. Like, I love picking up, like, if I can listen to, that's why I love, like, true crime, like, podcasts and stuff. If I can listen to it from, like, start to finish, if I can, like, pick the investigation apart and their case, like, still stands, I'm like, okay, solid, you got the right dude. But if I can pick it apart start to finish and I still have so many questions, I'm like, oh, like,
Like, what about it is frustrating in that way?
It's frustrating for me because I feel like the idea of, like, what the justice system is supposed to be gets lost a lot of the time. And that's annoying a little bit.
Can you elaborate on that?
I feel like I'm kind of biased because I'm just coming into this, like, a little bit of a maybe jaded point of view. But
that's
like,
okay.
So the idea, right, is like innocent until proven guilty. That's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And so when I like look at a case, and I've done it a couple times, I'm in Innocence Project right now. And so that's one of like the hard things I feel like I'm dealing with is not everybody looks at it like in the beginning. I'm looking at this person like they're innocent, not because I want them to be innocent, but because that's how our justice system is supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to view them as if they're innocent. And then everything that I hear about the case is supposed to convince me that they've committed this crime.
Right.
And if at the end of it, I don't feel that way, again, this is something else I feel like a lot of people forget is, without a shadow of a doubt, like no reasonable doubt is left,
Mm.
I feel like a lot of people leave that part out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm pretty sure this person did it. Like, I feel like that happens a lot. And so I feel like that's kind of frustrating is because people, I feel like the media plays into it. I feel like it's kind of like a loaded situation, but it is frustrating because a lot of the time, if you just do your job, whatever it is, if you're legal, an analyst, if you're an investigator or whatever, doing it to the fullest capacity,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of eliminate that. And there's always going to be somebody that's missing that mark a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I think because at the end of the day, we're humans, we're gonna
Yeah.
have like some level of, maybe this is wrong to say, but emotional attachment to things. Like
Yeah.
we might react to things emotionally. And that could lead to a lot of those instances where, you're like, oh yeah, he's absolutely
No, I
in
agree.
fault.
And I think it's so frustrating because people like, I don't know if you know, like the Scott Peterson case, for example, he was convicted of like killing his pregnant wife. And I believe she was still pregnant at that point. And I'm not gonna get on my soapbox on whether I think he's guilty or innocent, but I will say like he didn't necessarily have a fair trial. Like it came out afterwards he was having an affair, and like during this time that they were looking for his missing wife, he was still like communicating with his mistress as if nothing was wrong. So people were like, he's an asshole, like look at him, like he's so guilty. And I'm like, if you convict everybody that you think is an asshole, like we're all in jail. Like that's not how it works. And it's frustrating because like convicting somebody on the idea of like, oh well, they probably did it, like even if they did do it, that just like sets the justice system up to fail at some point.
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to get to the point where, oh, he probably did it, and then this person has nothing to do with it. Like, but like that continued mindset, you're just setting it up to not be successful, and in the end, you're going to really get like mess some people up one day. Like, it's just, yeah, it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, because I think the scary part that comes with it is the fact that if someone is not actually guilty, but then they've been proven guilty, for the lack of a better word, you've kind of taken your life away from them at that point.
Exactly.
And I mean, not to say that people have not gotten out of those situations and have found their way back, because there are those stories as well. But
even still, like it takes a long time. Like even if somebody's been proven guilty, they're in jail, they're convicted. Even if this evidence comes out that's like, oh, not only did this person not do it, this person did it. It still takes a long time for like, the legal process to kind of come through and like exonerate this person. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think especially, say for example, if it's a very publicized case, I feel like it's harder to shake off the fact that okay, like they've been proven innocent now. They had no wrongdoing whatsoever, because you've already attached this sense of okay, this guy fucked up, he did all the wrong things.
Yeah.
That's kind of never gonna go away, even if you've been exonerated. So I guess that's the sort of sad part that comes with.
I feel like that's a little bit maybe better now. Like
okay.
That's a personal opinion, I guess. It's not always going to be the same.
Yeah.
It depends on who you're interacting with and what they feel about the crime in the beginning. But like, I feel like in general, with social media now, it's a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
Like it can absolutely hinder a case. We've seen that like so many times.
Right.
But like in the end, if somebody's like exonerated, I feel like that's a powerful tool to like spread their message and spread like. So I feel like that makes it a little bit easier. But you're always going to have like one boomer that's like he did it.
Right. Yeah, I guess there's no running away from that because you're not going to please everybody. That's
No,
just the
absolutely
nature
not.
of it. So yeah. In terms of emotions, like, do you think people in the field are just numb to it, or are they in tune and they know what they're? I guess it's a very general
Yeah.
question because we can't point out a specific person that way because everybody deals with it differently. But what is your opinion on that?
I feel like it's just whatever people just adapt whatever mechanism works, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not like you want to turn off your humanity,
Right.
like, because then, ew, like, what
Right.
does that mean for your outside life, you know?
Right.
But like, I feel like it's got to be more of like a switch almost, like,
Mm.
because I feel like even I've like as just in the in the master's program so far, like, gotten better at like, I feel like I'm pretty good at like separating. I'm not perfect by any means, but like just separating general emotion
Yeah.
from like this, what we're looking at here. Like,
Mhm.
kids, like cases with kids are really hard.
Mhm.
But even that, like, you just have to figure out your mechanism, whether it means you just like dissociate for a second,
Yeah.
which I guess maybe is not healthy, but if you're in therapy after, you can probably work on it, but
Right. Yeah.
um, whatever they can, work on
Mhm.
to like get to that point where it's like, okay, I don't like this person. Like, this person, again, it's like this person is clearly not a good person, but did they commit this crime?
Yeah.
Like, especially like I said, when kids are involved, like that gets so like blurry and
Mhm.
messy if you're
Yeah.
not careful.
Mhm. Yeah. Especially like with social media, I feel like also the whole innocent until proven guilty thing is
Yeah.
sort of blown out of proportion because
Everybody's guilty on TikTok.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Everybody's guilty on TikTok. And sure, like you might have the opposite side, but usually I guess the algorithms are built in such a way that the negativity of it all
Yeah.
is just on top more so than, oh, maybe no, he's not guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, those voices exist, but they're not loud enough compared to the
Yeah.
negativity that is associated with all of this.
Especially if it's like an ongoing case. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier if the case is like done and dusted and we're
Mhm.
now like in the more like post conviction phase. Like,
Right.
that's a little bit easier, I feel like. But if it's like an ongoing case,
Mhm.
like that Idaho case, for example, I don't know if you saw all those TikToks when those were coming out, like before
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
arrested. I don't even want to say his name; it makes me feel icky. But like,
We can bleep it if you
yeah,
know.
bleep it.
Okay, I will. I will.
But
All right.
like no, ew. But like before he was arrested, like the theories that were coming out, like,
Mhm.
and I totally fell into it too because I'm like, this is interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't like spread that or contribute that. That's
Sure.
like I was definitely consuming it
Yeah.
because it was a crazy case, like, you know. But I also feel like in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, there are police working on this like for a reason. Like, I know that,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna like contribute to any of these crazy theories. But people legitimately feel like police don't know how to do their job. And don't get me
Mm.
wrong, sometimes they don't. Like, sometimes they
Right.
don't. But like, I feel like the Idaho case is a prime example of like great fucking police work. Like,
Mm.
just prime, like, because they didn't let anything out. And then when he was arrested really fast in the
Right.
grand scheme of things. Like,
Comparatively speaking.
yeah, like, because he seemed to have, now whether or not he has a connection to these people, we don't know yet because he
Mhm.
hasn't been tried. But as of now, it seems like kind of a distant, like, they don't really seem to be connected, like the victim and like the victims and him.
Mhm.
So like for that, for him to then be arrested like a month later, month and a half later, that's fast in the grand
Mm.
scheme of things. Like, usually cases like that would go cold. Like,
Right.
but not only that, like when he was arrested, they have, this mountain of an affidavit of
Mm.
like evidence against him. Like, I feel like it was top tier police work personally, but people are just frustrated because they want all the juicy details. And I'm like, you're not entitled to that.
No.
Like, get over yourself. It's not about that, you know?
Right. It's
Like,
about trying the person if they did something or to find out
yeah.
whether they did something wrong. There's nothing
Like,
to do with
eventually when he does go to trial, we'll know more.
Right.
But even then, like, you're still not entitled to that information. Like, do our morbid parts of our brains want to know, like, why he did what he did? Yeah, like, for sure. But if we never end up knowing that and he's still convicted, like, I'm going to sleep fine tonight, you know?
Right.
Like, as long as he's convicted and they did their job, like, cool, I'm cool.
Yeah. What about all of this makes us very intrigued and curious about it?
Honestly, I feel like we're all just, like, a little morbid inside, probably. Like, I think we're all just curious, like, because it's something that, like, goes against most people's, like, every fiber of their being. It's like, what? Like, why? Like, and the thing is we're probably never going to understand because that's just how these people are, you know? Like, but, like, just wanting to understand because it is so, like, what? Like, you know, like, understanding, like, the way their brains work, it's just so, it's, like, interesting. It's intriguing for a lot of people, I think.
Right.
Not everybody. Some people are like, no.
Yeah. No, like, I wouldn't
But,
want to know what Ted Bundy was thinking about stuff. Or...
yeah, no.
Exactly. Or like a Dahmer, for example. Like, I wouldn't want to be like...
But, like, just that, I guess, like, that stark contrast between what we think of, like, as, like, good people and, like, these people. And then it's almost like, well, like, how did they get that way? Like, you know?
I guess I am kind of intrigued by, like, the psychology associated with that. Of,
like nature versus nurture kind of things. Like, that's interesting. And then, like, a lot of people, I feel like it's, like, trying to figure out, like, the mental process of, like, how do you get in that headspace to do those kinds of things? And, like, people like you and I maybe can think of it a little bit more just in terms of, like, being in the field a little bit. But, like, in general, just, like, day-to-day people just can't even think about something like that, which is good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Right, yeah.
But, like, I feel like that is interesting to a lot of people. Like, they just can't even imagine getting to that point where they would do X, Y, and Z.
Right. Because it's super dark, right? Like, some of the stuff these people do is just...
heinous.
And I guess there's a part of, like you kind of said, there's a part of us that's always kind of curious to know, how did they get there?
Yeah.
Like, did their mom not hug them when they were growing up? Like, you know?
I feel like there's always a part of humans that's just really nosy too. Like, as much as we all want to be like, oh no, like, I don't care about anybody else. No, we're nosy. We want to know. Like, we want to know what's going on. We want to know, like, you know, every little detail. I feel like that's probably one of the biggest parts of it too.
Right. You've taken a chemistry class, right? I was going to say, like, in that class, the professor shows, I don't know if we should bring up their names, so I'm going to try and avoid that.
We'll bleep it.
Right. Do you remember him showing, like, a graph of, like, the first day in class of people watching a show and, like, wanting to come into the career and then eventually... Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been through that curve in some sense, or you've sort of picked up, or... I'll find a picture of this graph somewhere and put it up.
I think so. I feel like I've always just been, like, gung-ho, like, let's do it. Like, for me, it was never... I feel like a lot of people, it's like, oh, I watched Criminal Minds, and so I want to do forensics. That was never it for me.
Okay.
I do love Criminal Minds.
Good show.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. I love all of that. But I also love picking it apart and being like, this is so unrealistic.
Right.
I kind of sidebar. I went to the movies with my mom a few weeks ago on spring break. We saw this movie. It was called Knox Goes Away with Michael Keaton.
Okay.
And I was dying because you'll have to watch it and then get back to me.
Okay.
It had the bones to be such a great, like, true crime, like, crime thriller. Like, it had the bones, but they just missed the mark just a little bit. But there was this one part, this guy is dead, he's been murdered, and they take his body temperature with, like, one of those under the tongue thermometers. And I was like, we were in the theater, and I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
What just occurred? My mom was
Mhm.
like, Shelby, shh. I was like, Ma, like that is so far-fetched. Like half the time they don't even take body temperature anymore because it's not reliable.
Yeah.
Let alone with an under-the-tongue thermometer.
Right.
Like he's just standing there with it, and I was like, you couldn't even fact check? Like at least get one of those like meat thermometers, because that would be closer.
Right.
I was like, you may as well just be standing there with one of those like distance like laser thermometers.
Right.
Like,
The ones that they had during the pandemic.
yes, during COVID.
Forehead.
I was like, what am I watching? Like, and there were a couple of things I can't. Oh, I do remember another one. I was like, I can't remember. Yeah, I do, because it was kind of traumatizing.
Gotcha.
In their lab, like their forensics lab, the digital forensics lab, and the like chemistry, biology, it was all right there in this tiny little room, and nobody's wearing PPE. Nothing is covered.
Right.
Like all of the evidence is just out on this one table, and the computer is literally right next to it. And I was like, again, like it wouldn't have taken you long to fact check. Like, just a little bit. I was like, come on, Michael Keaton. Like, I know you got a little bit more money to spend on research. Like, oh my gosh, the thermometer was really what got me though.
Yeah. I mean, because the correct way to do that would be to like test the liver temperature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
even then, like, there's no consistent way to do that because of like external temperatures and like the weather, because you can't predict that. Like, so I can't even remember who told me. It was either or maybe he doesn't want me to say his name.
I'll bleep it. It's okay.
Or even.
I'll bleep her name too. I don't know.
I don't know if they want to be on here, but like talking about how it's not even like a thing anymore, that they really just don't even do it because you can't really even use that information. Like,
correct. Right. Because it's unreliable at this point. Like, because there's better information that you can see.
Yeah, exactly. We have better tools. Right,
exactly. And going to the lab scene that you talked about, maybe I should say spoiler alert. Is that a spoiler of sorts? Or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. But yeah, like the whole lab thing, because those are usually broken down into different places.
Yeah,
it's like not the same. If you were wondering,
absolutely not.
Yeah,
they would at least have like a pane of glass, in
something
between there, like
different sections.
Shoot, even a shower curtain would have been better. Like just something.
But no, they're all together.
No, they were all together, just in this one little room, and I was like, all protocols out the window. Like
sort of like a clandestine basement lab.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of giving clandestine.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
Which is not good. That's not how a forensics lab should be operating at all.
No, not in any way. And you also don't put all your pieces of evidence out on the table together.
Yeah, right. One at a time.
One at a time.
You process
you clean
things.
Between each.
Right. You process things because Locard's principle applies of like, isn't that Locard's principle? Like the transfer?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. I'll fact check myself and put something up if it's not. But
I feel like that's correct.
I could be wrong, but
just say it with confidence and people believe you.
Right. Yeah, maybe I should be a little more confident. Anyway, yeah, so I feel like all of that, I guess once you get into this field, you sort of pick everything that you see apart, right? Like, even if you were to go back and watch, like, Criminal Minds, for example, I don't think I've watched it since, like, freshman year of undergrad.
Yeah. I feel like Criminal Minds is not as bad for me because it's more of a psychology kind of aspect.
True.
And I don't know a lot about that.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, this could be true. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's less like lab oriented.
Correct.
Whereas like other things, I'm like, okay.
Oh, I just something just popped up in my head of like, there's a show in India called CID. Oh God, this is such a meme. Like the show itself, like, there's a lot of scenes in it that have been turned into memes. But anyway, there is this one guy who's like the forensics guy, right?
Oh no. He's just like the singular forensics guy?
Well, I guess they had like a couple of people. Okay. But he's like the main head honcho, if you will. I guess they come across like some powder or something.
Oh.
like a white powder, right? I saw this in a clip. I did not watch this episode, but I saw like a clip of it in a meme. The guy like touches it
Oh no.
and,
Taste it.
and tastes it. And then starts jumping around and
my
then says, "Oh,
gosh.
it's this thing." And I forget what he said it was, but yeah, he starts jumping around and it's like, "Oh yeah, this is this thing. It's sort of like this intoxicating
Oh
drug." It's
my
like,
god.
the fuck?
Can you even imagine coming across something? I can't even imagine coming across something like in my kitchen that I'm like, what is that? Like, I made it probably.
Right.
Like, it came from me.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine being like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Right.
Let alone a crime scene.
Right.
Like,
Right.
what on
Yeah.
earth? And the crazy thing is, like, there are people that would totally do that. Like, for real.
True.
Absolutely for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, is this Coke? Like, and just give it a go. Like, they would totally do it. There are people out there that would do that.
Yeah, that is wild. I mean, I am laughing at this. I will say, I do kind of tend to smell stuff. Like, if it's a little suspicious, I'm like,
I'm so glad you finished that with stuff.
Yeah.
Because I thought you were going to be like, I tend to smell. Just end it there. I was like,
no. I mean, granted, I
I was
wouldn't
like,
do
I've
that.
never noticed.
I wouldn't do that in a lab. I will
Yeah,
say
no.
that. I will never do that in a lab.
No.
But like at home or something, like if I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, just give it a sniff.
Right, give it
Yeah.
a sniff.
Very different.
Very different, yeah. But still kind of messed up. But anyway, that was, yeah, that, as we were talking about it, it reminded me
Oh
of
my
that.
gosh.
Because I laughed like my head is hurting from like laughing about it. But it's just so stupid. Like,
It is really stupid.
yeah, and I'm sure there's like a lot of American examples of that too on some
Yeah.
TV shows.
I do have to ask, was that like this show, was that them being like serious? Like, we're seriously trying to imitate forensics, or was it more of like joking? Like,
see, that's the difficult thing with this show, because I think it's been on TV for like 15, 20 years at
Oh
this
my
point,
gosh, okay.
almost. I think it lasted for way too long to where it got to a point where it became a parody of itself.
okay.
I don't know in terms of when this episode came out where he did that, but yeah, like it's kind of hard. I feel like
Little
this
bit
show's
of
kind of in
both.
between. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of both. Like they try to be realistic, but then also they're like,
Oh, in case we mess this up, let's make it funny.
right,
Like,
right. So it's a bit of both. Because granted, I guess they do add like some comedic bits.
Yeah.
Or like this one guy who's like, they portray him to be a little dumb, if you will.
Nice.
I mean, he does his job, but like he just says some dumb shit.
Don't
so-
we all though? We all say some dumb
Oh yeah,
shit.
we all do. We all do. We all do.
We all say some dumb
Yeah,
shit.
no, we all do. Like me putting it out on the internet that I sniff stuff. So, it's probably not the best thing to do, but here we are. So we all do dumb shit.
Imagine in an interview in the future, they're like,
Right.
now, Prateek, we've heard that you may or may not sniff things on the job.
Right.
Is that true? And like your job like
Hinges
hinges
on that question.
on that question. Like,
I mean, if it does, I'd be fucked. So I don't know.
like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Be like the occasional magic marker, like
No, I don't sniff markers. I will say that. I don't sniff markers.
oh my gosh.
I do not sniff Elmer's glue. I don't do
Spray
any of that. No, not spray paint.
Oh my gosh. No cleaning chemicals.
No, none of that. None of that. I'm not trying to get myself high. Let's put it that way. I'm just intrigued. I'll leave it at that.
Trying to figure out what the unknown substance is in your fridge. Kind of vibe.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything unknown. Like most of the stuff in my fridge, or all of the stuff in my fridge, I know what's in there.
Okay.
If there's like a label to it, I know what it is. Right? I wouldn't sniff it, but
It's taking a turn.
I know it is taking a turn. Maybe I should stop. But anyway,
To sum up, Prateek sniffs unknown substances sometimes.
sometimes,
But not to get high.
not to get high, and I wouldn't do that in a criminal way. Let's put it that way. Granted, I will say I do like the smell of gas, like petroleum.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a thing, though. Like,
Right.
you're not the only one in that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's still kind of weird though. Like,
Yeah, but everybody has like one weird thing
yeah.
that they kind of like the smell of. Here, make you feel better. I'll tell you mine. I think dogs' paws.
Mm.
Have you ever smelled like a dog and they smell like Fritos?
No.
It's a thing.
Wow. Okay.
I just love it. I think it smells. I'm like, aw.
Right.
Because you're all warm and snuggly in there.
Yeah.
Like, you smell like Fritos. I think it's like a bacteria or something that like grows in their paws.
Probably.
And it smells like Fritos. Some people, like my best friend Abigail, she thinks it smells gross. She's like, oh, that's so gross. And I'm like, it's cute that they smell like Fritos. Leave them alone.
Right.
I think it's cute.
Yeah. And I mean, for those of you who don't know, Fritos are a brand of chips over here.
Corn chip. Yep.
Corn chips. But yeah, no, I've never heard of that one actually. Like,
really?
No, I haven't.
One day I'll bring you around my pit bull and you can smell his paws because he do smell like Fritos sometimes.
Gotcha. A specific flavor of Fritos or just
Nah, just the basic
just
corn
the basic.
chip. Yep.
Gotcha. Interesting. Huh. Maybe the part of me that likes sniffing stuff is just very intrigued now. I should stop saying that.
I think they actually make a candle that smells like somebody's made a candle that's like smells like your dog's paws kind of thing.
Oh, I'm sure there's like a ton of candles like that's just so random. Like I think there's like bacon scented candles.
Gross. Like just cook the bacon.
Right.
And that way you get like a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
You can smell it and then eat it after.
Right.
Like,
there's even bacon scented like car air freshener.
That's gross.
I mean, granted, I saw this on a YouTube video, so.
Ugh.
There's also, I'm sure you've been to Buc-ee's, right?
I haven't actually.
Oh, you haven't been to Buc-ee's?
I haven't. No,
okay.
I know what Buc-ee's is. I've seen it.
Right.
I just haven't been there.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Buc-ee's is like this huge gas station, a petrol station, and they literally have like a giant market of like food and stuff in there too. It's crazy. Like the amount of stuff that they have is wild. It's not what a conventional gas station is.
Yeah, no way. I do want to go.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I kind of liked it. But they have this thing called beaver nuggets.
Yes, I've seen those. People say they're good.
They're good. I've tried them too. They're good. I think some places also sell like a beaver nugget scented candle though.
Okay, that's for like the diehard Buc-ee's people.
Right. So that's kind of like, that's a little too far. I mean, granted, the whole store, I guess, has gone a little too far with the amount of stuff that they have.
But like, fair play because it's working.
Yeah.
Like, clearly it's working.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's like I guess they have those stuffed toys of like the beaver.
Yeah, they have like onesies.
Right, like t-shirts, caps.
Don't they have like a home goods like section?
They kind of do,
like home decor and
yep,
clothes and
yep.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's so wild. I wonder who even buys that stuff.
Somebody out there does.
Right, for them to have it there, I'm sure somebody does. Right?
Nobody let my grandpa loose in a Buc-ee's because I feel like he would be that guy.
I don't know. I remember getting like a bracelet or something from there.
Yeah, I feel like you get like a t-shirt or like a sticker or something.
My keychain is a Buc-ee's keychain. It's somewhere there.
Sick. But I'm not coming home with like a cross for my wall, you know, from Buc-ee's. And I feel like they would definitely sell that. Or like, I don't know, some weird picture or like a hog head or something.
Yeah, they have those like, I forget what, like home decor signs.
Yeah.
With like phrases and stuff. I feel like I've seen a couple of those over there.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Because people would definitely buy it.
Mm-hmm. And they have some moisturizers and stuff over there. I remember the couple of friends.
Like skincare.
Yeah, skincare. I remember the couple of friends and on our way to Dallas. And
oh my God.
I think we went to the one in Denton. And yeah, like some of them actually smelled nice.
I wonder what's in a Buc-ee's skincare product.
So I don't think this was a Buc-ee's made product.
Okay. They were just selling a brand.
Right.
Okay, I was picturing like beaver,
the beaver in front, no,
moisturizer.
No, it wasn't that. But no, I'm reminded of this video that I watched of Have you heard of Jolly? It's a YouTube channel. I don't know. Are you a YouTube person? Like, do you watch a lot
Love
of YouTube?
YouTube.
Okay. So it's just these two Brits basically who like come to America.
Love the British as well.
Right. Now that I think about it, I feel like a lot of the content that I watch is sort of connected to the British. Like,
Me too. Oh my
Right?
gosh. I just
Yeah.
love it. I'm like, why does everything seem simpler in terms of Britishness? Like, why does life seem better? I'm not saying it is. I'm sure they
Right.
have their hardships, but
Sure.
I'm like, God, y'all just make everything sound great. Like,
Yeah, no, they're like the ones I follow. They're quite fun too,
Yeah.
I guess, to follow and watch. It's these two friends, Josh and Ollie. Anyway, they went to Bucky's and like they sort of talk about it all. But yeah, no, it was funny. Where were we?
I don't have a clue.
Right, we were talking about how did we get here. I like doing this sometimes. Like, how did we get
Finding the path.
right, finding the path back? I know we were talking about sniffing stuff, and that sort of came from like the
Oh yeah, then we started talking about candles, and then
right
Bucky's has the beaver nugget candle.
Yep. And then we were talking about that TV show in India and like how he
Yep, that was it.
tasted something, and that was sort of the connection. Anyway, getting back to I guess like the Friends exhibit for a little while. Do you think our field could ever get boring?
Personally, no.
Mm.
Because again, people are coming up with more and more ways to be morbid every
Right.
single day. And that's unfortunate for the
Mhm.
most part. But like for our field, it's great because
Keeps it
it
alive.
keeps us on our toes.
Yeah.
But yeah, people do absolutely unthinkable things.
Mhm.
And they just keep coming up with new ways
Yeah.
to be horrible people.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. I do kind of imagine like people who've been in the field for like 20 years, 30 years, and so on, how they've sort of dealt with things emotionally, or
Yeah.
have they? It's definitely something I'd love to talk to someone about. But I just can't imagine like some of it. Like if you've been to a place where there was a plane crashing and all of that kind of stuff, it's like wild to think about.
Yeah.
Um,
Like something that's not like a typical kind of crime scene.
right.
Which that's like hard enough, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, like a plane crash, like a large like motor vehicle accident, or like a fire of some kind, like that's got to be tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean we're human after all, so
Yeah.
it's gonna affect us one way or the other. So I'm just generally intrigued, like how that might affect, especially people who've been in the field for so long. Like, are they just good at numbing it, or
Yeah. I think you should ask him to come on this podcast. I bet he would do it too. You should ask to come on this.
I actually asked him, he said no.
Oh.
I understand why. I mean, we can talk about it later, but I had asked him and he said no, probably
Just for like privacy reasons, like
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which makes sense. I
Yeah.
completely understand that. Again, I'll probably bleep the name out over here, but
Yeah, sorry, a lot of bleeping.
no, it's okay. You're good.
Just as you were talking, I was like, he'd be a great person to
no,
ask.
I've actually asked him. Yeah, I've actually asked him. I've actually asked another professor, who's like the bomb tech. I'm trying not to bring the name up. I don't know if you know who this is.
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll bleep it out. Have you heard of?
Heard of him, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met him before.
Right. So yeah, I guess he used to do bomb tech stuff. I was kind of intrigued by that where he started. And he was like, "Nah, not possible." I'm like, "Okay, it's all good." So I mean, I tried. But
Dang.
yeah, no, that would be fun though. Like just getting to sit down and like talk to him about it, even if it wasn't for like podcasting
Yeah.
necessarily. Like just sitting down and like having a chat, I think would be
Interesting.
very interesting. Yeah,
I feel like there's somebody in the FSI that would be willing
to come on.
Yeah. Not to, you don't even have to like talk about like previous casework.
Right.
Just like
Them and
Yeah.
their experience of like being in the field. Yeah, I guess I just need to ask around a little more.
somebody would do it.
Right. I feel like with professors and like people like staff, for example, I can understand why not everybody would be
Yeah.
open to it. So it's sort of like figuring out who is and who isn't and all that kind of stuff. Because I think in the time that I've done it, I've only spoken to one professor. And that wasn't even in the forensics department. It was someone in like the media,
Yeah.
mass comm branch. So yeah, no, I can understand why they wouldn't want to do it either. So there's that. But anyway, I guess talking more about like everyday life and things like that. The one thing that I have noticed about, I don't know if saying Western world is generalizing a little too much, but maybe the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do you think people here love their animals and their pets more than they love humans?
Oh man, I'm gonna be so honest.
Whatever you want to say, it's okay. I'm not trying to put you into a corner over here.
It's
So
potentially, and I can
right.
say that because sometimes, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
like I said, my dogs are my children. Like,
Right.
and I know that sounds ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
if I were to now, okay, let's say like if it were like my mom or my dogs,
Of course.
like
Right.
that's a little different.
Those
But
are different things. Yeah.
like I will beat somebody up for my dogs.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
like it's it just depends. And I guess depending on what kind of level you're talking about, because it can vary, but it's weird
Sure.
because I think animals, like in general, unless it's like a snake, sorry if you like snakes, but freaks me out.
Fair.
But
I mean, they
like,
freak
let's
me out too.
say I'm a dog person, so let's say a dog,
Yeah.
like they are just the purest form
Hmm.
of being,
Yeah.
right? Like they're just vibing and they just love you. Even
Yeah.
even if you're a horrible person, if you are good to them, they will love you, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's just the purest form that life could possibly be.
Hmm.
And it's crazy how like that it just makes you feel good, you know? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I can't think of any examples, but like I feel like there are so many, not all of them, but there are several criminals who are like, murdering people and
Yeah.
then like going home to their dog, like
Right. And taking care of the dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
like not saying that that's right by any
Right.
means,
Right.
but like they're just like
Yeah.
they're pure, you know?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I should let this thought pass. This was a thought that came to my mind. I was like, maybe not. Um,
Go for it. You can bleep it later. You can cut it
I
out.
was gonna say, but anyway.
Maybe cut it out later.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll probably bleep it out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel when I'm watching this back. Um, anyway, I guess I'm gonna be pop psychologist over here for a second, or armchair psychologist, whichever one. Um, with animals, it's only the good that you get for the most part. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure, like they have their own um, ways of being troublesome in some
Right.
sense, but generally speaking, with humans, you have to deal with the good and the bad.
Yeah.
But with pets, it's like, oh, you get to deal with the very good and sometimes the bad, but more so the good, like the very mushy feelings that
Yeah.
you get with just being with your pet and so on. Um, I'm not trying to brand people by saying like, oh, they're avoiding like being in
Yeah.
relationships with people or anything like that. But I wonder if that's partly
Probably.
influential to
Yeah.
where it just makes you want to do that more than like,
Yeah.
because we all want to be loved, and if you're getting love, unconditional love, in
Yeah.
that matter. I mean, your pet only cares if you feed it or not,
Yeah.
right? Like they're not gonna tell you that you've invalidated their feelings or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I wonder if that plays into it. What do you think?
Potentially. Yeah. I think, you always hear about like the crazy cat lady or whatever. Like I feel like there's always that one person out there somewhere that's like, yeah, I prefer animals because I don't have to talk to them. Like they don't
Yeah.
have to like interact in a way that you would with humans. And to be so for real, I kind of get it. Like
Mhm.
I'm not saying that's how I am, but like
Yeah.
I do get where they're coming
You can
from.
understand. You can understand and empathize
Yeah,
with them, possibly.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's just interesting. Like growing up, like I never grew up with pets, and I never grew up in an area that had a lot of like with families that had pets
Yeah.
either. Granted, I mean, when I lived in the Middle East, we lived in apartments, and usually people don't have pets in apartments.
Yeah.
It's rare for that to happen. And even when I was living in India, not a lot of people had pets. I mean, we had a relative who did have like this huge Great Dane, um, which has barked at me a few times, and anyway, I don't know why I'm remembering. I also got bit by a dog once, so I'm kind of scared of them.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I've worked through that fear a little now. Like I've
I
dog
used to
sat
be
once.
terrified of dogs when I was a kid, which is
Right.
so bizarre now
Yeah.
because I literally have their faces like tattooed on my body.
Right. Right. And I guess it's sort of like growing out of
Yeah.
that fear and so on, right? Because now I don't think I'm as scared. Granted, I try to think happy thoughts when I like feel
Yeah.
the dog barking at me. But other than that, I'm like, oh, cool, whatever. I'm just walking by. And sometimes, I guess for me, because I've not grown up with pets, like their way of expressing, like they try to jump on you when you're
Yeah.
happy, right? I did not know that. I'd get scared when a dog would come and like try to jump or like try to get close to my
Yeah.
face and get all up in my business, But that's the way they love, and
Yeah.
I guess you understand that once you've been around them a little more. So that's something I've learned over here. But anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but it's just interesting. Like people do a lot for their animals that I don't think people do back home.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. Like I think not everybody is this way, but for the most part, dogs are also seen as a way of security.
Mm-hmm.
And there's often like signs on like gates and
Yeah,
houses that
like,
say
beware
"Beware,
of
there's
dog."
a dog." Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And the dog mostly will just bark even if you're walking by the gate,
Yeah.
right? So this flip side where I've seen some dogs that don't really bark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I guess it comes down to what purpose you have them for,
Yeah.
right? But I don't feel like people over here necessarily have them for security, or do they?
I feel like it may be something where it's like maybe they say like, "Oh, well, I have a dog," like because it's definitely depending on your dog.
Yeah.
Because I have one. His name is Beckett. He is absolutely the protector of the house, and I didn't train him to do that. That's just his instinct. Like he will rip your throat out if he thinks that you're a threat.
Right.
But like I got him as a puppy. Did not teach him to do that. It kind of just came. It just kind of came on its own. But like other people, it's very possible to like train a dog to do something like that. But like I don't know, it's just kind of. It's also like for some people, I guess like a bonus. Like, oh, I'm getting a dog. Oh, and then they'll bark and then that's the dog that just loves everybody that comes in.
Yeah.
Like. So I feel like it's something that people think about when they get a dog. Like, oh. And I'll have protection, like, and then it turns out to be just a snuggly little pup, you know?
Right.
So it just depends. I'm sure people get dogs for
that reason alone.
Yeah, like, because I feel like there's dogs like German Shepherds or something.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I feel like they're meant to do that. Like, you don't want a German Shepherd. I mean, at least I don't to just like lay on the couch and watch television.
Right.
Like they're the type of dog that like need a job to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
If I ever have a pet, while I partly am not scared, but I don't like the fact that animals shed a lot.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess some of it is also because I've been conditioned to not have that in my space growing up, so it kind of bothers me now. But if I ever had a pet, golden retriever would be the dream.
They're cute.
Yeah, they're very
That's definitely not your guard dog, I don't think.
No, I don't think I would get one as a guard dog, in all honesty. Again, this is me now. I don't know, 4 years down the road.
Hypothetical,
exactly. But yeah, if I may ask, what breeds are your dogs?
I have one Beckett that I was just talking about. He's like a cattle dog mix. He's a mutt. I don't really know what he is, but
what is a mutt?
like just a mix of all
Okay.
different. I think he's primarily like, I think he's part healer, and I think he's actually part Belgian Malinois.
Okay.
So he's definitely like working dog,
Hmm.
badass, like
Gotcha.
But there's a little part of him that's just like sweet and snuggly as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's got both sides.
Right.
And then I have a pit bull
Mm.
who is absolutely just sweet, snuggly,
Mm.
not a mean bone in his body. He barks a lot because he's hard of hearing and he's vision impaired.
Mm.
So bless him, he just doesn't know how to interpret the world.
Right.
And they're both rescues, so I have
Okay.
no idea what happened to him. Because when I brought him home, he's 90 pounds for reference now. When I brought him home, he was 32 pounds. He was skin and bones.
Wow.
And so I have no clue like what anybody did to him previously.
Right.
I feel like somebody probably used him to like try to like as like a fighting dog.
Mm.
It's just not in him.
Yeah.
And so then they abandoned him. That's my guess. But yeah, so he barks a lot just because he's terrified of everything.
Right.
And he has a really big bark.
Mm.
Like just hearing him, I would probably run away if I didn't know who he was.
Gotcha.
But he's just terrified, bless him. That's it. He's just scared.
Yeah. I think the one thing I realized, or it's just a thought that came across as we're talking about it right now. There's a lot of strays back home.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of them just become super territorial of the places that they stay in. So even if you're walking past, yeah, they're gonna start barking like it's nobody's business. My mom and I were once walking somewhere, and she wanted to show me like this nice house in like this area, like from the outside, like.
Yeah.
And I think it was being constructed at that point, so it was sort of open. Like you could walk up to a certain point
Right.
and like look at it. I think there was like this group of 5 or 6 dogs that were just hanging out, and
It was like, nope.
they started barking.
Yeah.
And I started getting really scared because that was close to the time that I got bit by a dog too. Then we both started getting scared, and my mom was like, "Don't run. Whatever you do, don't run because they're gonna start running behind you, and you're toast at that point." So we tried to walk away slowly, and I think there was this kid who was maybe one of the workers' kids. I don't know if I had to guess. And she was carrying like her sibling, I feel. And this kid was probably like this yay tall, maybe. And like she had like another kid. She just walked past us. She like picked up a rock and threw it. They all ran away.
Not her first rodeo.
Not her first rodeo for sure. But I feel like it's those incidents. Like I feel like because of the way like we've seen it there, our connection to them is very different.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I feel like definitely in this part, of the world, dogs are like, I say dogs, again, I'm a dog person, sorry.
Yeah.
Pets in general, I guess I should say. It's just so much more of like everybody has one. Like, you grew up with one, like, if you didn't, your neighbor did, or your grandparents did, or all of the above. So
you've always been around them one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like I said, I only had one relative who had a pet, but other than that, nobody else.
Yeah.
Now I guess the same family has a couple of dogs, but anyway, you were going to say something?
I have 2. My parents at one point had 3. One just passed back in October. And then my brother has 2. So when we're all home.
Oh, wow. It's like 6 dogs?
Oh, let me do some math. At one point, because my brother just acquired the second one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So it was, I think 6, sometimes 7. Yeah.
That's a lot of dogs.
It's a lot, yeah.
Do they fight amongst themselves?
No, it's kind of incredible. And they're all males as well.
Interesting.
And we've always thought that was kind of odd because it seems like one would be like more like dominant alpha or types. Like no, they all get along so great. Like
fascinating. Yeah,
and it's kind of a freaking blast if I'm being honest. Like my parents they're all rescues except one.
Okay.
my parents this last time because rescuing a dog is hard. Like,
Hmm.
I advocate the crap out of it, but it's hard, especially if it's like an older pet who's been through some shit. Like, it's hard. Like, it's definitely hard, and it's taxing emotionally, physically,
Right.
and financially. So they just opted to. They got, you know, his name is Rebel. He's a mess. He's like a Maltese Shih Tzu mix, I think.
Okay.
So he's like one of those fluffy white dogs with an underbite.
Mm-hmm.
I despised that dog when they first got him because he was so small
Mm-hmm.
and he was just so full of energy. He would hide and I couldn't find him. And I'm like, you're not potty trained. Like, where did you go? Like,
Right.
I was like, by the end of the day, I would just be exhausted from hanging out with him. I'm like, I don't like you. Like, please, no. Now he's much better. I don't know how much he weighs. He's much smaller than mine. Probably like 17, 18 pounds. Like, he's really small.
Yeah.
But like him and my 90-pound pitty,
Mm.
they're like best pals when they get together. Like, they're like this. They have so much fun together. It's really funny to watch. Like, and then my parents have a dog he's bigger than mine, about the same weight, but he's like taller in stature. And him and Lil Rebby, they get along great. It's so funny. Like, they're all just like little peas in a pod.
Interesting.
It's funny, yeah.
Interesting. With like training dogs, do you have to train rescues as much, or are they not?
It kind of depends. Like, with Bex, he's so smart. Like, he can pick up on things really fast on his own, and he's easy to train at home. Whereas Nash, I have paid for trainers, and he's still not trained because, bless him, like I said, he just doesn't interpret the world in the way that most other dogs do. So it just kind of depends on your dog. Like, a lot of the time, depending on the breed, you can just like train them at home and they're good to go.
Right.
But it depends on the dog. It depends on what you want them to do. Like, your basics, sit, stay, you know, all that. But if you want them to do like combat, like that's a little bit out of my realm. I don't know the answer to that one, but
gotcha. No, because again, like I think with rescues, they're often dogs that have been abandoned.
Yeah.
Do people, like, if they don't want a dog, go and drop them off at a rescue?
Sometimes. More often than not, though, it's just people that are irresponsible with their pets, or they just decide one day, like, they don't care about them, so they're going to dump them on the side of the road, and then this pet turns up somewhere, and somebody else will take it to the shelter. Yeah. Or a lot of the time, like, the biggest problem, I think, is, like, irresponsible breeding. Like, people won't get their pets, like, fixed, and so they have lots and lots of, like, litters of puppies, but these people don't want them. Like, you know, and so they'll just, you know, dump them off somewhere, and it's the same kind of thing. It's really sad, but
this is another, I guess, maybe it's a bit of a morbid question, but I've kind of wondered about, like, when people have pets. I have a friend who has like 4 cats. He's gotten them all fixed or neutered. Yeah. Similarly, I think most people get their dogs fixed as well. But I guess in like a species sense, I kind of wonder, are we like limiting the growth of their species by doing that? I know there's breeders out there who like breed them, but
I feel like the ones who like spay and neuter their pets, like, you're always going to have this group of people who just don't, like, who don't care, who are always just going to let their, you know, their pets do whatever, they're going to mate with whatever. Like, so we are going to have that realm of like, yeah, this population over here is kind of fixed, and then you're going to have these over here that are just doing whatever they want, because it's not like it's a law or you know, anything like that. A lot of places, even like if you want to take your pet to like a park or, you know,
for them to mate.
Yeah. Like, it's a lot of places, like if you take your pet out in public, like they have to be like fixed. And even still, you still have a problem with like people
not fixing
just
them,
letting their dog do whatever. So it's just kind of I don't know what you do about it.
Choose your game, if you will, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, like, if you have to take them to a dog park, they have to be fixed.
Maybe not.
Mm.
I don't know. I honestly don't know because like a public dog park, it's not like you have somebody there like checking like records and stuff.
Right.
But generally, I think it's like an unspoken rule. Like if you're at a dog park, you're like a bad dog parent if your dog is not like fixed or they don't have like their vaccines. Because then you're like risking other pets as well. So
right, and in turn, other people too, right?
Yeah.
Possibly. So yeah, because rabies and all that kind of stuff can
Right.
happen, and that can affect a lot of people and their pets. So I can imagine that. But yeah, I guess that's one thing that, like, ever since I've been here, I guess I've had my phases of fascination with it, like how people take care of
Yeah.
their pets and so on. Because yeah, like at one point with my old roommate, also my best friend, he's not living with his boyfriend. But yeah, when he first he had two cats. He got two cats at once, and that was about the time that we were about to move out. Because I was leaving to go to Colorado. And yeah, I remember those two cats being around and how jumpy they'd be, but it was kind of nice. Like, I won't lie, like it was nice having pet energy, if you
Yeah.
will. So I definitely get the appeal.
Yeah.
I definitely get the appeal. But yeah, I guess the shedding part of it, does that bother you, or are you just used to it now?
I'm used to it. Yeah, like even before I had my two, like I had several like in the house, like
Yeah.
in middle school, high school, and whatnot. And so it's one of those things. And I always wear black. Like black is my favorite color. And so I'm just like, if you don't like dog hair, like just don't come to my house because I do clean.
Right.
Like I'm not one of those people that just lets it build up, but like I could clean for a week straight and there would still be dog hair somewhere.
Yeah. I guess it's unavoidable at some point, right? But
I think it's just one of those things where you make your peace with it. It is what it is.
Right. Because I guess you love them enough to where you're like, yeah, this is whatever.
Like my house is clean for the most part.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're just leaving a piece of themselves with me.
Yeah. Because they love you so much. Yeah.
It is funny when we're all like together and it's like all the dogs. It's like, it should be like a drinking game. I don't drink, but like it could be like some sort of game. The number of times that like a dog hair ends up like in your food just on accident.
Oh.
And like we're sanitary, like we're clean people,
right.
But it just happens.
It
like,
just happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, there's another one.
Right, because I mean they can't control the shedding, right?
Yeah, no.
I guess that's the fear that I have with like potentially having a golden retriever too, like the amount of hair they have and how much they might shed. But yeah, like those poor beings have no clue that they're doing that.
No.
So you can't really blame them for it. I guess if that's a problem, you would get a breed that doesn't shed as much.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are breeds that don't shed that much, right? And I'm sorry, I got very curious and intrigued by dogs.
That's okay.
So, or pets in general, that's why we're talking about them. But moving on to something else. After a long day, what are you often going and doing once you're home?
Oh boy. I love, I don't have roommates, and I do that for a reason because when I come home, I just want it to be like
quiet.
Yeah, I don't want anybody, like nobody speak. Like, like I do have the dogs, but that's different.
Right.
Depending on the instance, I do love a frozen pizza. Pizza in general. Yeah. But if it's one of those days where I'm like, I don't want to pay, I don't want to pick it up, like one of those things. I'm just like,
throw it in the oven. And...
It's DiGiorno. It is DiGiorno, baby. Right. Like I don't mind it. I enjoy it quite a bit. I love to have a soak in a bath, just watch something, maybe read a book, and then I am in bed by 9 every night, ready to go to bed.
And you're up early if you go to bed?
Relatively, yeah.
Gotcha. Have you always been that way, going to bed early, if you don't mind talking about it?
Yes, I've always been such a grandma. I
don't think there's anything grandma about it, in all honesty.
now I'm so unashamed. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing anything. Like,
Yeah.
people who, like, have plans at 8:30 baffle me. I had a friend whose birthday, it was, like, back in October, and I think the dinner reservation, it was either 8 or at 8:30.
Mm.
And I remember telling my mom about it, and I was like, that's, like, midnight for me eating dinner. Like,
Right.
that's so late. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is happening? But yeah, I've always been that way. I will never, because there are people, I've never understood this either, like, pulling an all-nighter to, like, study, or if you can do it and it works for you, I guess more power to you.
Right.
But for me, I'm like, my brain shuts off at a point.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I could stay up all night and stare at this book and gain nothing from it.
Yeah.
Or I could go to sleep.
Right.
And so
Right.
I feel like I'm just way more successful if I'm like, okay, everything has to be up by this time. We're going to bed, and then we're waking up at, like, this time the next day.
Right.
Like, I just don't function like that.
Yeah. You'd prefer to be up early
Yeah.
than stay up late.
I will never sacrifice my sleep for something like that.
Mm.
And it's done me okay so far. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've had, I think, in the 6.5 years almost that I've been in school, probably pulled 1 or 2 all-nighters, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't even think I've pulled like a half all-nighter. Like,
Yeah.
even going to bed at like midnight is pushing it. Like,
Gotcha.
my close friends know, like, oh, it's 9:00. Don't text Shelby unless it's an emergency.
Right.
Like,
Right.
my best friend, if she calls me past like 9:00, I'm like, what's happening? Like, are you good?
Yeah.
And sometimes she'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what time it was. And I'm like, like, you scared me.
Yeah.
Like, I thought something
Glad
was
you're okay.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm just unashamed at this point. We're in bed. We're in bed by 9.
I think there's nothing to be ashamed about it in
It
the
is
first
what
place.
it is.
Right. I mean, because if you like going out and partying, more power to you. It's none of my business at the end of the day. Like, I couldn't really care. And if you want to sleep early, that's fine too.
Yeah. It was like really like apparent when I was like a freshman living in the dorms. Like, my suite mates, they'd be like out. Like, I remember I was like getting ready for bed, and my suite mate was getting ready to go out, and I was like, we live 2 different lives.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't understand. Like, that is great for you, but I'm tired just thinking about it.
I mean, that was kind of me and my roommate who had the cats too that I was talking about. He would often go out on like parties and stuff at night.
Yeah.
I would be in bed by 10:30.
I like the way you think, Prateek.
Right. I mean, granted, we had those odd days where he'd be like, do you want to go to Denny's? I was like, sure, why not? Because we used to live at this place that was like a 5-minute walk from Denny's.
Yeah.
Well, now there's no Denny's over there anymore. But anyway, sometimes he would do stuff like that, like randomly maybe go to Walmart, or like go to Denny's, like be up to like 11 or 11:30. But generally speaking, 10:30, lights out.
Yeah.
I'm gone. Again, sometimes if I have to work, I'll stay up, but I would prefer to sleep more than, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for me. I'd, again, rather wake up early and do it than stay up late and do it. Because, my brain was fried.
Don't work.
Yeah.
Don't work past, for me, about 8:30. My brain is like, you're done. Like, do something else.
Sometimes I have days 5 in the evening. I'm like, nah, I'm done. I am done.
Yeah, sometimes it's earlier, but usually max is like 8:30.
Right.
Before I'm like, cut it. We're done. Like, yeah, sometimes like if it's like a group project or something, and I get like text or something about it, and it's like 10, 11, I'm like, I'm not responding until the next business day.
Hey, fair enough. Like, I don't think that needs to bother your sleep. Sleep is important.
The greatest thing that Apple ever did was create the do not disturb function. It's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
I love it so much because I'm just floating up here. Nobody needs to know.
Right. Right. And I mean, if it's important. I think if they call you like twice or
Yeah.
something, it goes through, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that time, okay, you're like, all right, cool, maybe there's something
Yeah.
wrong and need to do something about it. But otherwise, yeah, I don't want to be bothered at this time. Don't bother me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of feel that even with like messages and WhatsApp and stuff, because by the time that I'm going to sleep, a lot of people are awake back home, and I'm in a lot of family group chats. So my phone's honestly on silent. I just have like emergency ringers turned on for my parents and my sister.
Yeah.
So if they call, like, okay, I can hear it, even if my phone's on silent. But other than that, I'm like, nah, because it's a lot. Like the amount of messages that come in some of these family group chats
Yeah.
is crazy. Is that a thing here? Are people in like family group chats over here?
I think so. Not my family.
Gotcha.
But I think it is a thing.
Mm.
Like, I know that my best friend's in one, like with
Mm.
all of her siblings. But to be fair, I only have one sibling,
Mm.
and we don't talk a whole lot. So
Gotcha.
like, yeah, anything that we talk about, I mean, we all talk about it eventually, but like we're not
Right.
like group chatting kind of
Right.
people.
Yeah.
I also don't know that my dad would know how a group chat works.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. And when I mean family group chat, I mean like extended
Yeah.
family, like cousins and like cousins of cousins and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, how many cousins do you have, out of curiosity?
On my mom's side, I have 4. On my dad's side, well, I have like first cousins or
Yeah, just like first cousins.
first cousins, yeah, 4. And on my mom's side, well, my mom's side was 4. My dad's side is also 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I have 4 total.
Mm.
I don't speak to a lot of them. I think I
Gotcha.
only speak to 1.
Mm.
So like that usually like blows people's minds that I only have like 4.
Yeah.
In general, I'm like, what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
Like,
Right?
they just didn't have more children. Like,
Right. It's nothing. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it.
But yeah, only 4.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. No. Granted, though, I will say, in all honesty, I'm sorry if anybody's watching this, but I feel like I'm more connected to my second cousins in some sense.
Yeah.
So I guess there's those dynamics as well. Because I think with the way a lot of families are back home, generally speaking, they're quite big.
Yeah.
You're quite connected. Like my mom, my grandmother, or my mom's mom, she has 8 other siblings. And they all have like at least a kid or 2. So we're all like connected that way. So it's like, there can be times when it can get a little overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of people. But I feel like it's nice in some sense as well.
Yeah.
Because you have that family connection. This is a very tangential, maybe slightly dark question. But do people value family a lot over here?
I feel like it depends on who you ask.
Right.
I have to be so for real. I'm not close with a lot of my family, and it's just a lot of
To each
different
their
reasons.
own at the end of the
Yeah.
day, but yeah.
But a lot of people are like,
Yeah.
it's definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have like a big family, and
Gotcha.
I'm very different from a
Mm.
lot of my
No,
family.
that's okay.
So,
Yeah.
it's just like, don't have like as close relationships as like other people would.
Sure.
But I feel like, yeah, it's definitely a thing. I feel like it's just going to depend on who you ask.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably like a culture thing as well. Like,
Yeah.
just where you grew up, and
Right.
how you grew up, kind of thing.
Mm.
But yeah, just depending on who you ask, I would say for sure.
Yeah. I guess the reason I asked that is because I see more nuclear families over
Yeah.
here than I do like joint, huge families. And I mean, granted, I feel like that's happening all over the world now at this point. Because my parents talk about how they grew up in joint families, my mom especially, of like how she grew up with her uncles and aunts and like their kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I've maybe grown up with one cousin, even if that. So I guess it's sort of like I
feel like it's definitely like a culture thing.
Right.
Like, I feel like I can say this because I am white, but like a lot of white people, like, it's not necessarily like, oh, you see your relatives on holidays and yada yada yada. But like, at least for me, and I feel like several people, like around the people I know,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it is. Whereas like other cultures, like other, I guess some white people would have that,
Yeah.
but like it's just more like family oriented. Like it's
Right.
like, oh, it's Sunday, so yeah, we're eating family dinner,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
which I kind of wish it was more like that, but again, I kind of don't because it's just not that close with my family. But if we were closer, then yeah, I'd be like, yeah, let's do that. But
Yeah. No, that's fair. Because I also feel like potentially religious not for their feelings, but like your religious background also kind of plays into it.
yeah,
I feel.
probably.
'Cause I feel like if you're going to the same church and all that kind of stuff, then you're going to stay connected. That's bound to happen. I mean, granted, we are in a more conservative part of the country, generally speaking, so maybe there's that factor as well.
I feel like it's also more common for like families to like live apart
mm,
sometimes. Like for me, like my mom's side, they like I grew up like a little bit further away than like my dad's side, but even then we didn't like live in the same town, and we weren't like going to the same church or school or whatever. Whereas like I guess in a bigger city it would be more common to like live next to each other. But yeah, those lights keep going off. It keeps distracting me.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I guess it's like those motion sensing.
But I feel
ones,
like it's common for people to like live apart now.
right. Yeah.
Like even just like within like closer families, like living apart. I feel like that may be why as well.
Interesting. Because I would kind of, I was going to say, I feel like it might be the opposite in like some things that I know, wherein like in bigger cities, well, because usually people move away to go to a bigger city back home. So most of their family is probably in their hometown.
Yeah.
Not so much in the city area. Unless your family was in the city area and
I
you
feel
were
like,
brought up there, that's kind of when...
That's more like...
Yeah, you're sort of all there. Because I mean, I can say for sure, like in the Middle East, when we lived there, we have relatives who live there, but then we don't live that close to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas in India, where I'm from, there's one relative who lives like 5 minutes away. There's another relative who lives like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And like they're in your radius of sorts. So yeah, it's just interesting how those things work. Because culture, I guess, if you look at it another way, could also just be what the culture is in the home that you brought up, right? Because that's going to be much different compared to like the culture of the area that you're in.
For sure.
I mean, that's true for every single thing. I guess everybody's brought up differently, so that's just kind of its own weird thing. No, weird is not the right word, but its own unique thing. Unique thing. There we go. That's the better word. Cool. We've been going for close to an hour and a half.
Time flies when you're having fun, Prateek.
Awesome. You have fun?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Any parting thoughts, anything you want to put out into the world, or
no pressure. I can't. The only thing I can think of is that Prateek smells things. That's all I can think of at this moment.
Oh, this is gonna live on the internet. Fuck my life. Anyway, I mean, granted, there's also an episode where now this is a story. I admitted that I used to eat hair as a kid. So,
and yet you're worried about dog hair and shedding.
Well, I will say I don't do that anymore.
Okay, I'm not judging you. I'm questioning. That's it.
No, it's all good. It was probably like 2 or 3 when I did that.
Okay, fair enough. We all did stupid shit as kids.
Right. I don't do that anymore.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Can't imagine doing that.
So, parting thoughts. Prateek smells things, and he used to eat hair.
Right. Yeah. There's that.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Shelby, for...
Thank you for having me. It's been fun. I hope I was kind of interesting to listen to.
I mean, I'm sure. Like, we talked about a lot of things, like from forensics to dogs and people and all that kind of stuff. So
Buckee's.
The fact that I sniff stuff
and
like eat hair. So, eat hair. There's that. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Hi, Mom. She's probably gonna watch this.
Awesome. And now she knows that you spoke
Yeah.
to someone who sniffs stuff and eats hair. Anyway,
I'll probably tell her about it later tonight, so she'll be prepped.
cool. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time.